Talk Valemount. Let's do it.
We're here at the Valemount Community Hall for the Columbia Basin Trust, Our Future event. And we're here with Village of Valemount Mayor Owen Torgerson, who is also a director of Columbia Basin Trust. Owen, thanks for being here.
It's great. It's great to be out at such an important and enthusiastic community gathering, Michael.
So why don't you tell us why we're here today?
Well, as you may know, the Columbia Basin Trust is going down a path of renewal, and that renewal is around their management plan. And what the management plan really dictates is feedback from Basin residents, basically giving marching orders to the Trust's board of directors on the future of everyone's trust.
Okay, and so I understand there's a number of these events. Do you know how many of them there are across the region?
Dozens. I don't know the exact number, but they're also coupled, Michael, with 3 larger symposia, one in Trail, one in Cranbrook, and one in Golden.
Okay, and so what will happen with all this information? So right now it's an open house, I understand, and then this evening there's going to be a public component where there's feedback sought?
Yeah, right now is the open house, so it's sort of a meet and greet, and then again, as you stated, tonight is a more facilitated session, more of a question and answer period, more in-depth discussions. Following the wrap-up of the CBT Roadshow, staff will take the information gathered, really break it down into pillars or strategic priorities, and then present it to the Trust Board of Directors for adoption.
Okay, and so will it form the basis of, say, a 5 or 10-year plan? Do you know what the strategy is?
Yeah, we're looking at believe we're looking at a 10-year strategy, and we had attempted to do this a couple of years ago, but as you know, the world flipped everyone else on their heads through the pandemic, and we had to adopt a temporary or a short-lived management plan to get us through, and now we're full speed ahead through community engagement, looking for that feedback from Basin residents.
Right. And obviously this is not going to air before tonight's session, so for people who weren't able to attend, what can they do to get their feedback heard?
Oh, there's so many online opportunities at ourtrust.org. There's social media feedback throughout platforms like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn. There's the opportunity to actually register for the symposia themselves, free of charge. You just got to get there and let us know your thoughts.
Okay, great. Well, I want to talk about the Columbia Basin Trust and its importance to the community because we've just finished yet another one of the newly renamed READY Grant presentations in which a number of community organizations, including Valemount Entertainment Society, was successful in obtaining some funding. How do you think the Columbia Basin Trust has benefited Valemount and the area?
Well, not just through the READY or the previous community initiatives program, but the Trust has a overwhelming suite of funding programs and learning opportunities for not just not-for-profits, but for businesses, for residents, for investment programs. They've got into the connectivity region, which is, as we know, in the last couple of years have become so important.
Right. So in addition to the READY grant programs, there are a number of other programs funded. I can think of the recreation program for trails, etc., that VARDA has taken advantage of. Any others that you can think of?
There's 65 or 67 programming opportunities, including community development, again, business development, not-for-profit advisories, education programs, tuitions, the list goes on and on.
Lots, and I seem to also recall daycare and other types of funding.
Yeah, we're into the housing game, Michael, as well. We're in partnering with Indigenous nations and communities. We're into energy retrofits. We're into solar gains, and the list goes on. The best thing I can advise people is to visit ourtrust.org, get informed, but more importantly, give us your thoughts on what the trust means to you and what you want the trust to mean to you in the future.
Right. Regional-based organizations like this sometimes have a challenge, especially with geography. This one's no different. We are the very, very tip of the Columbia Basin Trust. How do you think the Columbia Basin Trust has handled that geographic separation in terms of equity, in terms of all the partners within the region?
With grace. As you said, there's quite a few puddles between us and the rest of the basin, and between those puddles there's a couple of rocks called mountains. And so what the trust has really done is given the northern part of the basin its own community liaison, and that's Angie Elsmore, and she's based out on the cusp. Again, through technological advancements, she meets with the village quite often. She meets with not-for-profits quite often. Again, the whole suite of programs online, so that separation, geographic or not, is getting narrower every day.
Right, and we know that you're taking our concerns to the board on a monthly or bi-monthly basis as well, right?
Yeah, the board meets around 6 times a year with an executive that meets in between. And then with all the subsidiaries, as I mentioned, housing, investments, business development, those smaller boards meet in between the larger board meetings to provide recommendations and feedback.
Great. Well, thank you very much for helping host this event here, and we hope you get some great feedback.
We're looking forward to it, Michael. Thanks.
When the Columbia Basin dams were built, there was promises made to this region. Some of the brochures put out by BC Hydro in the province showed the types of industries that it would attract. And so when the downstream benefits...
Mayor Fred Demon from Golden heard me on the radio on CBC. Then he phoned Josh Smink, and Josh Smink phoned me and asked if we would like to be included with just the formation of this Columbia River Treaty Committee that they were going to start. When the Fraser-Fort George Regional District came on side, that's when the entire basin came together. We were a group now.
Order, please. The honorable members, the question is third reading of Bill 7, Columbia Basin Trust Act. All those in favor, please stand.
When the day of the legislation passed, it was absolutely exciting because we have reached this milestone now.
I think the moral of the story is, okay, local people can make it work and they didn't screw up. Those folks now can point to this institution called the Columbia Basin Trust and say, 25 years.
We never expected to get where we got. And so never discount your dreams.